Pamela, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a while since we've seen each other.
I know.
6
Good to
months, a
see you.
year? Has it been a year, 6 months, or a year after the
Yeah,
last time
between
that
6 months and a year, I think.
it's good to kind of catch up and see how sometimes people do after they've done this depth of work, just to make sure that the shifts and the changes and the skills and the frameworks that we learn are translatable for life and other areas of life. And I just was really curious and seeing how you're doing with all of it.
Yeah, thanks for checking in. Good. I feel like a different person in so many ways.
What was going on before, around the time you decided to work with us?
I was at that should I stay or should I go point in the marriage. And I think I had probably been there for longer than I wanted to admit. But when COVID happened and it made everything sort of bubble up to the top, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I couldn't, I was a master at everything's fine, everything's great. And during the pandemic, when everything slowed down, I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I think I knew deep inside that once I acknowledged that and faced it, I had to do something about it. Right? I couldn't just ignore it and not do anything. And found your program. Really glad that I did, because by the time I talked to Kim, my nerves were shot. I had anxiety. I could hardly function. It was really a hard time in my life. And I think, still trying to wear the mask, especially with my family and my kids, and everything's fine, but it wasn't. And things were definitely starting to break down.
Yeah.
And so I found my own voice and I listened to myself, and I, was able to sort of clear out the noise and to go deep within to sort of ask myself, what do I need? And I needed to leave the marriage. And so that's what I did. And once I think I acknowledged that that's what I needed to do, not that it was easy. It was never easy, right?
No.
It's a really hard decision to come to. And I didn't take it lightly, but I left. I got my own apartment. And so anyway, going through the program helped me to find the courage. And I think one thing you helped me acknowledge during that is because I changed, it allowed him to change, in that he helped me move out. And we had a very amicable separation. We had, Sunday dinners with the kids, and it was about as amicable as a separation could be.
Right? It's not going to be like a picnic to do that. But what was really cool is that we were guiding you to kind of unpack all of that. It's hard on both parties, on the family, but you were able to navigate through that a lot easier.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. Much, much easier. I mean, it's still, obviously it was really hard, but I always felt sort of a peace within myself. And I think that also translated to how I communicated with the kids and with Dave. They could sense that about me. That I was sort of okay with everything, even though it was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had to look at myself and do what I needed, look at that inner child, do what she needed, right? And to listen to myself for the first time in I don't know how many years.
Totally. So would you say that there was like a codependency happening before that prevented you from being able to choose yourself?
Yes, 100%.
And what had you tried before? Because you were doing therapy for a long time to try to solve this, and it wasn't really hitting the spot, was it?
Right. Not at all. We were both in our own stories, right? Like I was in my own story, he was in his own story, and I wasn't able to acknowledge that I was in my story, right? In my own victim story. He had cheated, and so I was feeling bad for myself and not really acknowledging, myself or, my feelings about that, and, why maybe I sought that out in someone as a child, going through your program, recognizing that as a child, my dad left, and always sort of wanting to get his attention. And so I had, recreated that in a sense in my marriage, this codependency, as you mentioned. And I think Dave, in his childhood, was always looking for attention and for validation. And so we were like the perfect pair, because I'm a people pleaser, and I'm like doing everything I can to validate him and make him feel good, so that maybe he won't cheat. Maybe he'll love me, right? If
He'll
I do
return
all
the
these things.
favor one day. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
You were in this little dance, and no amount of talk therapy got you out of that dance, did it?
Exactly. That's
That's the
exactly
key.
it.
Because
Yeah,
you're both in a dance in a story, and then you're just talking. You're going to a therapist and you're
yes,
talking your stories to it. But nobody had really taught you how to get to the context and see what this dynamic is actually about. It's not about your stories
right.
at all. What was your biggest breakthrough or epiphany through the work that really helped give you that insight?
I did both overview and breath work and badassery.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever one had me write a letter
Yeah.
today
It's the
about,
overview experience.
yes, about all the ways that I was hurt and just sort of expressing my feelings. And then you said, now his name and put
Don't give it
yours.
away. Don't give it away.
Oh,
Don't
sorry.
give it away. Don't
Edit
tell them
that
what
out.
happens.
Edit that out.
But yeah, that exercise.
That was huge. Going through your overview experience really allowed me to look inward and to see how I had abandoned myself, and had sort of recreated this dynamic from my childhood. It was really eye-opening.
What did you decide to work with me in particular? I mean, you've done
Um,
therapy, you tried all this stuff. Why me? I'm curious if, anybody in your family, obviously your husband noticed that there was a shift within you that caused him to step up and take ownership as well and start telling truth and being authentic. And um, who else gets to benefit from Pamela's inner connection with herself?
I think my kids, I have 3 kids, and I think I spent a lot of, their lives being a people pleaser and trying to do things for them and self-abandoning myself,
Mm.
in doing so. And obviously when kids are little, you have to self-abandon because their needs,
Yes, you got to
right.
keep
But
them alive.
exactly, you have to keep them alive. But as they get older, I think I realized that I was hurting them by, quote unquote, doing everything for them and running myself ragged in the meantime, because it wasn't really teaching them responsibility. And
Yeah, interesting how you do that. Like most of the time people will say, I'm a pleaser, I'm a pleaser, I do it for everyone else. But part
right.
of the inner work is realizing that you're not as altruistic as you think you are with it.
Right.
And to really be authentic about the real reason what's driving that, and then really look and see, are you really empowering other people? And what my question to you about that is that what was the hardest part of doing the work for you?
The hardest part of doing the work, I think it was just taking responsibility for myself and not, blaming circumstances
Mm-hmm.
or I married the wrong person or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
taking responsibility. That's hard. That's hard to do, to say, what role did I play here?
Adulting is tough, isn't it?
It's hard. It's so hard.
And so I was going to ask what the biggest win was, but I guess the fact that you now have a completely different relationship than the one that you did before. You're not self-abandoning. It's not based on codependency. You're checking in. You're able to be real. He's stepping up
Yeah,
for you and taking responsibility as
100%.
well. You guys
Yeah.
have more of a secure relationship going on than you ever
Yes.
have, which is
Yes.
great.
The way we communicate, the way we argue, the way we come back together after, because as you always say, it's not triggerless, right? Like we're still going to get triggered. We still have, disagreements, but
Yeah.
I think the way we can communicate through them is so much healthier.
Yeah.
And it's, we can go because, he's done his own healing. I've done my healing. So we can get right to, okay, what is this really about? What do you need? That's made all the difference. And I think our
Amazing.
kids see that too. And you want to model a healthy relationship.
Yeah,
Kids, right?
totally. That's the main rationale behind me having this conversation is I want to show Dominic something totally different than what I experienced. So how do you feel now, in 3 or 4 words, now looking at who you were when you had that discovery call with Kim to now where you are now? Like, how do you feel right now?
I feel secure. I feel confident. I think, just having gone through the program and everything that I went through with leaving my marriage and then coming back, I remember you saying it's not a matter of, are you going to be married or not? Or are you going to be with someone or not? It's, are you okay with yourself? And that's where I think I have this inner peace and security and confidence. It comes from within. I'm not looking for outside validation to feel good about myself
It's
anymore.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
so good. Wow. So if somebody's watching this and they can really relate to your story, they're feeling anxious, trepidatious, stuck, um, what would you say to anyone who is kind of considering doing this?
I would say it's an investment in yourself, unlike no other. And I think it improves every aspect of your life. I mean, all we want is secure relationships. We want to feel good about ourselves.
Safe
Like
in your body, safe in
safe
your
in your
own body.
body.
Yeah.
Exactly. Safe in your body, and you feel valued from yourself. You're not looking for external validation. And that's priceless, really,
Mm,
because the way you show up at work, the way you show up, as a parent, the way you show up in relationships is so different and so much more improved. It's just it makes all the difference. It really does. So I
beautiful.
would encourage anybody to look into the program, to try the overview experience, to try breath work, because that's a little less scary. It's is to sort of stick their toe in the water just to get a
Yeah,
feel for it.
totally. Yes. Pamela, thank you so much. I super duper appreciate you taking the time and giving me an opportunity to catch up, see how things are going. And I'm super duper proud of you. And it's been an honor watching you. So I just thank you.
Thank you, Nima. Thank you, and Kim and Eilina and the whole community. It was a life-changing experience. And I, thank you so, so much for all that you're doing. It's really so impactful and so meaningful. So thank you.
Big love. Thank you. Thank you.
Big love to you too.
Make sure you subscribe.